Very good point. That's a great point. Let me, okay, I like that.
You're broadcasting. Good.
No, yeah, no, I am, but I haven't went live yet. This is just you and I still.
All right.
So let me just go live now and then we'll get her started. Hold on.
If you're watching, everybody, hi. JG's just messing with it.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, Mr. Don Campbell, we're live. I'm excited. I mean, you and I are starting to get into a groove of these interviews, and
one of us doesn't have a hat, aren't we? One of us supposed to wear a hat or something? Maybe today's my day for hats. I don't know.
Well, last week I interviewed Neil Taniguchi, who was in Mexico. I thought his idea was so good to be in Mexico during the winter. So I thought that's it. So I booked a flight. Now today I'm in Florida, so I should have my hat on, Don, but I forgot it at home.
I should have my farmer hat on because I just spent the last 3 hours moving branches and trees and stuff. So there you go. But the reality is that that's what real estate can provide. Look at Neil's story. Look at your story. Look at my story. Is that the ups and downs and the SOSs and all those things are just a part of this life that gets us to a point of freedom. The books didn't make me any money. The Rain is not about making me a bunch of money. It's about this real estate. Had 3-hour meetings yesterday in downtown Vancouver with bankers and strategists, etc. And it was all about, so what do we do with the real estate? What do we, Jennifer and I, oh, by the way, this whole thing about this, these rumors of Don's retiring, and oh my good, that whole thing. But what was that old saying? The rumors of my death are quite premature, or something. I'm paraphrasing. So I'm glad
you brought that up, Don, because I've heard those as well, and I just laugh it off. But you're right, people are that is kind of circulating in the air, Don, isn't it?
Well, people are actually using it as a marketing thing for their BS, and that's what's so funny. Is I kind of go, hello, still listening, still here. Still relatively relevant.
Yeah. So you're not going anywhere, Don. We're happy to have you, my man.
It's great to be here.
What do you make, Don? We're doing this interview in a pretext to the SOS conference coming up in Calgary. We have decided this year to shift our approach and to do an SOS, strategies, opportunities, and solutions. Instead of a traditional acre, we went with an SOS, and there's a very specific reason for that, Don. And can you tell us more about this? Because you've actually been through this before. In 2016, we held an SOS in Alberta, didn't we?
We did, and previous years, not year after year, but previous times, it wasn't called SOS, but the event was SOS, and because real estate, we go through cycles, and unfortunately, especially this last decade or so, or maybe even 15 years, it's been a pretty darn good ride in the real estate world, and there's bumps along the road, and I'm sure there's some economists out there that are saying that there's a bubble for the last 15 years, and that's great for them. They're probably still renting. Anyway, that's a whole different story. The truth is that these bumps get big and small and big and small. And right now, so for instance, in Alberta, the bump is big. It feels like a roller coaster. With no up, if you know what I mean. So it's we felt that in 2001. We felt that in 1997, I think it was. And, so throughout the years, but this, we did an SOS previously because the SOS conference is really about people saying, holy, that word. And you can use the FS, whatever word you want. But I don't know what to do. I'm starting to feel like I'm just getting kicked and punched and thrown under the bus, et cetera, et cetera. And there's still going to be people out there teaching, hey, this is how you buy real estate, and frankly, that's great. And congratulations on them. They're always a couple years behind us. But the reality is that it's time for solutions. If you can't get through the bumps and the deep dips, as Seth Godin would call them, or Seth Godin, depending on who you talk to, you don't survive to the point where it starts to work. Neil, in your interview, he's been through the bumps. I've been through way too many bumps, hence the gray hair, I think. And
although you've managed to keep your hair really well. I mean, it may be a bit of gray in there, but you kept it really well. That's a nice
knock on wood. Knock on wood. But that's why this conference is so darn important, is because it's about solutions. Are there opportunities? Yeah, there will be some, as there are in every downturn. But if you are continuing to do what you did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, over the next 24 months, guess what? You're going to be one of those guys on a TV show with the horrible story about how the world ate your lunch, and I'll have to dig up from the bottom again, and you don't need to do that. So I think the reality is the reality, as you know. When you're right now, it's called let's fill our vacancies. What's really happening in the oil and gas industry? What can we do as far as filtering and using the bad news to our advantage? What do we do when people aren't buying houses anymore? Okay, maybe they're renting. That's just a little side note. But what do we do when it seems like every government is attacking and your industry, whatever your industry is? We've seen it in automotive, we've seen it in oil and gas, we've seen it in multiple different industries. What's happening? Yesterday, for instance. Sorry, JG, did you have a question? Because I'm just
no. You keep going on this thought. I do have 3 questions I've written down since, but you keep going on this thought. Just finish this thought of yesterday. Yesterday,
Jennifer and I, the VP of Research, and I went and hung out in a really small room. It was 3 tables, I think, maybe 4 tables, with the chief economist, Avery Shenfield of CIBC, to kind of dig into what's really going on. It was like a private meeting. Yes, we got lunch, which is kind of nice, but just to be able to hear their research. CIBC has been very, very good with their research for multiple years, especially their forecasts as to here's what's going on. And boy, oh boy, the stuff that we learned, the notes we were taking, Jennifer on her phone, me in an actual old style notebook. There's a generation gap there. I noticed it. But can you give us, Don, a little bit of a tidbit? I know Jennifer's going to release some of that at SOS, but can you give us a little tidbit of what you heard as a? I promised her not to, but maybe she's not watching, so we might be okay. The economy in Canada, although we look like we're in full employment and we look like a bunch of pretty good things, when you peel the onion, his term, peel the onion 2 layers, it really starts to smell a little bit. So we need to understand that the interest rates probably or should not be going up at the Bank of Canada level. It may go up in 2020, but we're going to hang out with Avery and keep listening to what he's got to do, and as well as other people, to see what the interest rates are doing. So now is still a pretty darn good time for variable rate mortgages, and because you get to pay yourself. You get to knock that mortgage down more quickly than on the fixed. So start being strategic on that.
Do you think, Don, you said something interesting. You talked about that we've had a good ride for the last 10, 15 years you talked about. Mm-hmm. Do you think, unless you're just getting in literally right now, which some people are, but a lot of people have been on this ride that we've all been on for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Do you think people forget the good times a little too quickly sometimes? Do you think, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that when we hit these bumps in the road, you really find out if you stuck with the buying system and all the defense that we teach and all of the strategic pieces that we teach over the decades. What's interesting is during a boom, they kind of go, Don, I can't find anything that fits your formula, so I'm going to go find something else. Or, you know what, it's not really near a transit system, or there's not really multiple industries in this town. But Don, what do you know? You're an old fella. and you've been around forever, and it's impossible to follow your damn system anymore. And, you know, I've given up arguing with people like that. And I just, and then they just go off and they go buy something because it's something. And then all of a sudden they are struggling more than even average when an economy starts to slow down. And that's what we're starting to witness, is that if you build your foundation of your portfolio as strong as you possibly can, and probably slower than you really and truly want to. I know for me, because I have to stick with my system as well, but the slower, you know, you should not be teaching something you're not doing, by the way. And just go on the internet. There's lots of those. The truth of it is that if you stick with your system when it's booming and crazy, and you can make money by just waking up and turning on your phone, and there's all kinds of money just pouring in, that's the time where you really start to be listening differently. You really start to be listening to what's behind the curtain differently, and you start to listen to, okay, so what do I got to do to make sure when the inevitable stormy waters, and anybody who's been to my recent events, I always have that slide with the lightning and the stormy waters on it, you know, because that was started about 2.5 years ago. I put that up, and we had this great discussion around, okay, let's start culling our really bad properties that are speculative and use that capital to prepare us for the next downturn. That could be in Oshawa, Ontario. That can be in Red Deer, Alberta. It can be in Fort St. John. It could be anywhere. I don't even care where you're purchasing. Well, Don, Toronto's the center of the universe. Yeah, that's great. But inevitably, if you're buying properties that don't make sense, guess what? The cycle will show you that it doesn't make sense at some point.
Yeah, that's right. So what's interesting, Don, and you've been through now, I've counted them a while ago. It was like at least 4 pretty significant downturns like this, maybe more, right?
It's a very subtle way of saying, gee, you're old, Don.
Well, you know, I wasn't going to go there, but but here's my question, Don, and I love learning from people like you that have been through this over and over and over 4 times now. I want you to reflect and take me back to whatever change you want. But you had to change as an investor.
My goodness, yes.
You had to modify your strategies. You had to look at different strategies, different opportunities, different solutions, and change yourself to capitalize on the next wave. You didn't keep doing it. You didn't keep using the same strategy. You evolved. You adapted. You adjusted.
Yep. Always evolve, adapt, adjust. For instance, no perm anymore, huh? Evolved, adapt, and adjust it. And, you know, if I kept that, you know, I'd probably be arrested by now.
Thank goodness for us. So I can speak for everybody watching, Don. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, it might be a fundraiser sometime for Habitat for Humanity to get one back. I'm just saying. Anyway, the reality, I can't grow the mustache anymore because it's gray. Forget it. The reality is that if you don't evolve, adapt, adjust, and I didn't at the beginning, because damn it, this is what worked and this is what I was taught. I thought there was only one way, and there isn't one way. You have to evolve, adapt, adjust. That's why when we did the previous SOS, we brought in people with different outlooks, different analyses, to kind of support what it is that RAIN members were discovering throughout this last 12 or 14 months beforehand. You always want to make sure you're not drinking your Kool-Aid. That's why the Secrets of the Canadian Real Estate Cycle book has done so well, because it actually says, I'm making words up now. It actually says in there that as the cycle shifts, you have to change your strategy and or your tactics. Sorry, Jennifer, I used the word strategy. It's tactics. You change your tactics as the cycle shifts. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that because they only know one way.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Don, because I was being interviewed a couple days ago, and the interview asked me a question, and I hadn't realized how much I had shifted my tactics over the last year. How I had, just in the last year, I had found 6 new lending sources, had completely changed my a whole new lending solution because of the bank and the mortgage. I had to. If I wanted to keep going, So I got new business partners, and I went from a buy and hold strategy to a completely different strategy because the market was evolving. I was evolving and adjusting. Why do you think
your target market? Yes. Yeah.
Why do you think, Don, people don't respond? Why doesn't everybody respond like that? I mean, that's what I did, and I'm not saying I'm so great I did this, but I'm saying there are opportunities out there. They're dressed in overalls and they look like work, but man, there's some great opportunities out there.
Yeah, and there are, and the funny thing is that I hear a lot about, I'm going to wait until the market crashes and then I'm going to buy. And I know for a fact that those people won't buy because it'll never be it. They want it to be just right, the Goldilocks of real estate. It's never just right. You don't try and catch a falling knife, but you do really start to, if you've got a portfolio right now, you got to be leaning in. I don't care if CRA calls it a passive income. I mean, a passive investment and taxes it that way. This ain't passive in this style. If you are renting or even buying and flipping and buying and holding, you do have to be leaning in at this point. But frankly, I don't know why the psychology behind change is, but I talked to a lot of people over the last 26 years, lots. And people always say, I wish it would change. It would change. It would change. Never saying, I wish I would change.
Yeah.
And it's always going to change. The tough part is you changing and evolving and adapting in order to make it happen. And that's why the SOS conference is so darn important, because we actually talk about the change, and we talk about the relationship with money, and we talk about a number of different things that are really freaking important, he says with his 18-year-old voice. But I don't understand why, but I do understand that those who get it really get it and totally. Do and just lean in and go, just give me the solutions so I can put them into play.
And that's really what the SOS this year is all about, is about presenting new speakers, presenting entirely new strategies, presenting solutions, tactics, opportunities that otherwise typically aren't discussed. And the reason for that is now is the time. We are at this at a spot where we could be capitalizing on major opportunities. So we've introduced this new SOS event, which I'm really, really excited about. And I put a link below, Don, just so people can click on it and get registered. It will definitely fill up and completely sell out. So really excited about that. But before we go that far, let me back it up and ask you a question, Don. We're going to get deep for a second. Okay. We're going to get deep. Get ready. We're going deep.
I'm covering up.
With everything that's happened in the mortgage, what I call the mortgage fiasco, with everything that's happened with the economy, with where Alberta is and Oshawa and all this stuff, south of the border, the president, all of these various things, is real estate investing still relevant? Should people still be investing in real estate?
No, probably not. He says jokingly, the reason I say that, and somebody will edit that, right? And see, Don says no. The reality, the truth is some types of real estate investment are beautiful right now, and other styles. I don't know, if you're trying to do a buy and a flip in the Alberta market right now, why don't you just take a brick and just hit yourself in the head a few times, because it's going to be less painful. Because if the market's slowing down to that level and you're going to go, I'm going to add a bunch of value and then sell it, you may want to buffer yourself with 12 months of carrying costs. But given the other side of it, which is the mortgage fiasco, when we were downtown yesterday at CIBC talking to them, and they said, there's tons of people who want to buy property now to get into their market, and it's not about not being able to afford it, because you can always find something. It's not being able to qualify, even though they have good jobs. And that means that those people aren't like spontaneously combusting and disappearing. They still need a place to live. So if you are a rental housing provider in Canada, in almost all markets, you are seeing vacancy rates going down, rents going up. In some markets, like Abbotsford, British Columbia, for instance, oh my goodness, like It's insane. It's 0.4% vacancy. People are moving here in droves. Rents are starting to really take off because the build hasn't kept up with the movement of people. You've got a federal government who's bringing in 320 to 340,000 new people from outside the country into Canada. So they're going to rent. The majority of them are going to rent. Then you've got all these millennials who are wanting to get into the market. They have the money and they have the income, and the mortgages guys say, "I'm sorry, I can't give you the money. New rules, new rules, new rules." And so,
that just, sorry to interrupt there, Don, but that right there, what you just talked about, for me, I'm seeing is creating some great buying opportunities for people who have a little bit more liquidity in their portfolio.
Yes.
Who are ready to move on stuff. I'm finding some great opportunities to buy because of this mortgage fiasco.
Me too. Just bought something. Was it closed 6 weeks ago again? Totally. And so excited about it all. I'm being really selective because I can now in these marketplaces, because there's a little bit more fear and there's a little bit more of the people who don't really understand market cycles. So they're trying to get out. They didn't buy properly, didn't finance properly, whatever their strategy, whatever happened, that they want to get out because they think market timing is everything. That's cool. And so sell it to me because I'm okay. Yeah.
Well, I was talking to Patrick Francine. I was talking to Neil Taniguchi, and both of them were telling me how in this kind of iteration, kind of call it 2008, call it 2009, call it whatever down dip you want. They both said to me the same thing. I got my best cash flowing properties at that time, and I wish I would have bought more.
2007, 2008, and 2009, if you look around and you interview some long-term successful REIN members, that was their moment. They listened to what we were saying. They listened to the research. They got brave. And that's the tough part, is you've got to be brave to do something that, maybe your family or friends are going to go, "What are you, nuts? Buying it right now? Haven't you seen the Globe and Mail? It says the world is ending." And that may be true in your town. For instance, there'll be some towns out there that aren't the best places to buy. But the majority of those people, those veterans, leaned in and said, "I'm going to go pick some cherries while people are leaving them on the sidelines or trying to get out of the marketplace." They did the analysis. They did the due diligence. They did all of the work that it takes to do so, but they were able to do it not in those breathless times that generally the boom always provides. Like everybody's desperate. I just got to buy something. I got to buy something. I got to buy something. And
is this a time, Don, to be brave, you think?
It's a time to be brave in some cities. It's time to be very strategic and patient. It's a wonderful time to clean up your own portfolio and make sure that you're not just sitting on the sidelines going, "Oh, I can't believe it." You want people, you want to be making sure that you're in a good position with your current portfolio, hence the solutions part of the conference. But there are opportunities. I am seeing the opportunities. I'll tell you that much. I'm talking to the banks, and they're seeing opportunities. They're being a little less brave, which was exactly the same thing that happened back in the last time when we all had to be brave, is when the banks were being a little less brave. And you go to secondary lenders and finding that you pay a couple extra percentage, but you're getting properties at such great deals, and you're seeing the rents creeping up. And in some cities, jumping up 14% rental increases. You get the report on a monthly basis from padmapper.com. They'll tell you what the real rent increases are. And go to donrcampbell.com. By the way, I just posted something, JG. I don't know if you've seen it on my take on this sending out an SOS, which of course now plants a earworm from the police into my head, and I will never be able to get rid of that. Sending out an SOS, but I'm not going to sing it for you. But so yes and no is the answer to your question. Like everything in real estate, every answer is nuanced. If someone's telling you, "You got to do this," you might want to peel behind the curtain and see why they're so forceful.
And right now, I think you'd agree, there's an opportunity for everyone to be doing something. There's some different strategy, some opportunity, some solution. Everyone's got to be doing something, whether they're preparing their portfolio to take advantage of an opportunity, whether they're getting even more strategic to be able to minimize the downside, right? They got to be doing something. The question is what do they do? And if they come to SOS on March 1st to the 3rd, they'll find out exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, you just you're shifting your tactics on the buying side and or selling side. And at the same time, you're shifting your strategies around the ownership and the financing, et cetera. Or I guess there's this option, JG, is you can get a big blankie and a pillow and wrap yourself up and hope for 3 years that for the next 3 years that you don't, nothing affects you. And then you wake up again and I don't know, that I've seen people do that, just disappear and have no clue, give up. Oh, well, stupid real estate. Off they go. It's funny to watch. It's not funny to watch. It's more sad to watch.
Don't be one of those folks. Come to SOS March 1st to the 3rd. We'll help you. What I love about SOS specifically, Don, and we'll end on this, and I'll let you take us away. But one of the things I love about SOS is we speak to all of the type of investors, whether you're newer, just getting started, you got your first property, or you want to get your second, third, or fourth, or maybe you're an experienced investor and you're trying to go from 3 properties to 8, or you're trying to make that next jump. Or significant investors that have been around a long time, veterans as you call them, Don, that may have, it doesn't matter if you got 50 doors or if you got 10 doors. The point is that you're either want to ride this wave to the next level, or you may want, this may be an opportunity for you to look at other opportunities, other strategies for you to move your portfolio to the next level. Doesn't matter if you're intermediate, we have solutions for them all, don't we, Don?
Yeah, and that's the important part, and that's why I'm so proud of what the RAIN community has become, is that it can serve everybody at some level. The problem, of course, the professor syndrome kicks in, and people go, "Well, I know everything. Look at me, hey," and then they go off and do something else, and then they miss the opportunities to get themselves in trouble, either financially or multiple different ways. I'm just going to leave it at that. And the professor syndrome gets in people's way. I suggest that even if you think that you might have the professor syndrome, is that now is a pretty good time to just kind of take that hat off for a weekend in March and just go, because and I know, veterans, that all you need is one tip. And if you're in the real estate game, one tip can be worth a lot of freedom and a lot of opportunity and a lot of positive momentum. There's enough negative momentum crap out there. There's enough things that are being taught that are inappropriate during this economy. I've been talking to the federal government, the provincial governments. I've been talking to the bankers and the economists. That's what I do. I cannot help that. Jennifer has been right alongside with me, as you can see when she's doing these curtains, rocking them, knocking them out of the park. And because that's what we do, and that's what we've always done, and it is so important. During a boom, people go, whatever, curtainy stuff. But during these times, you got to be listening. You got to be paying attention, and that's what this is. The SOS is going to be about. It's pretty awesome.
Perfect. Well, that's great, Don. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, my man. For everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. And hopefully we're going to see you at SOS March 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We're going to be presenting a host of strategies, opportunities, and solutions to take your portfolio to the next level so that you're not stuck and that these times become empowering times for you. So, Don, thank you so much for your time, my friend. I super appreciate it. I know how busy you are. You were on the farm, and I'm probably going to go back to the farm, aren't you?
Cheers, guys.
See ya. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.